stop this from moving around. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to this video. Cool. So I'm just gonna like really jump into it. Today we are going to talk about. So we're gonna be talking about just like actually some deep stuff, some really deep stuff. I just want to see what the title is. Yeah, actually that works. It's about self-worth, like our last stream was, but like a little bit of a different take on self-worth than the last stream. So if you think about where we are right here, right now, as we are, these people, Evan, I'm Evan here. There's been like so much programming that's been put onto us to help build up who we believe we are, who we believe that we should be. Even me here talking about this stuff, and so I'm just getting used to this streaming stuff. Cool. And so I want to talk about like the hidden conversations that have been had around you when you were a child, or if you're a parent, that you're having around your child, or just like in general, like conversations that go on around you, that you hear, that are about you, that get like kind of come into you, and especially as younger kids, especially. Just before I was like kind of meditating. And there's just like this flow of this download of like just all the conversations that my parents had around me. Just like, I don't know, I felt them come into me. And I only had that realization because I have conversations around my kids. I try not to, but at times I do. And a lot of those conversations are about like maybe how difficult you are, or how you don't listen, or like talking to someone else while you're there as if you're not a human, as if you can't understand what's being said. And as children, or our children, learn to just block it out. Just block it out. That person is talking to another person about me. I'm not supposed to be hearing this, so I'm gonna abandon myself. And those are the first moments where we're taught to abandon ourselves, or where we teach our children to abandon themselves. I want to give a great example about this weekend with my wife and me and our child, our 8-year-old daughter. And so my daughter, we took her out of sleepaway camp this summer, like really early, like 5 weeks early. Just wasn't the right fit for her. Fast forward, she's home at day camp, and we start looking for new sleepaway camps for her because she wants to go to sleepaway camp. She loves it. She wants to go. Cool. So we set up a conversation with the owner of one of the camps that we're interested in sending her to. And so we tell our daughter to stay downstairs and just chill, that we're going to go talk to this woman. Yeah, how'd that go? Especially for my daughter, because we kind of taught her not to sit on the sidelines a bit, which is cool. But anyway, so my wife and I are in our bedroom talking, and my daughter comes in, like, to come say hi to the owner of this camp and to converse, and then we're like, all right, you can go now, and she kind of tiptoes away, and I know she doesn't leave. So I go to the door of our bedroom, like, which you can't really see, it's like a little bit of a hallway to the door, and she's sitting on the floor of that hallway, and I say to her, like, hey, what's going on? Do you want to be here while we're talking? She's like, yeah, I do. She's like, how about I put music on and headphones on, and just chill while you guys are talking? Okay, she's smart. Very smart. So we go to her room, get her music player. She's sitting in the room while my wife and I are talking to this woman on her headphones. I hear her making some noise, so I get up again and go to this little hallway, and I see her headphones kind of off, and I'm like, are you listening? She says, no. I said, no, you're not in trouble. Just tell me, like, are you listening? Because I just want to know, so, like, we can maybe, like, just see. And I said, let me hear your headphones. And she says, no. And then she, like, reaches behind her and starts turning the volume louder in the headphones. And so I know that she heard some of the stuff we said, and I asked her to, like, you know, if she wants to talk about it, any of it, if any bothered her. She said, no, none of it bothers me. And I'm like, well, instead of us talking about you, do you want to join the conversation? And she said yes. She's like, I want to join the conversation to talk to this owner of this camp about me. This is about me. I want to be involved in it. And so we bring her in, and then we just include her in the conversation. And we don't say everything that we want to say, like, if she wasn't there, which, like, I don't know. I haven't, like, fully downloaded thoughts about talking about our kids to other people when they're not there. Like, I don't know. I can see, like, the benefits of it, of like, being able to be candid without your child being there, about things you want to help them with. And I could also see the benefits of them being in there for conversations and not really having many of those conversations without them being there, like them being involved in the own narrative of their life. Us being involved in the own narrative of our life. Us. We were those kids. We may still be those kids. So yeah, she joined in, and the conversation went so much better probably than if she didn't, and we were able to come to like an answer of like that camp wasn't for her, and the one that we visited the day before was the right camp for her. And Sage was like an active participant in it, and I'm sure she felt empowered. And so if we come back to this idea where we started the conversation with, about like, right now, me here, Evan, you sitting there, you are a amalgamation of all the stories and conversations that were had about you that you were not actively involved in, that you were not included in. It was not part of your narrative. You didn't get to have control of your narrative. What does that mean? How do we come to terms with that? How do we come to grips with that? How do we feel those stories in our body and help digest them so they move through us and then take control of our own narrative? Because the narrative around me was that I was anxious and scared and a lot, maybe too much and weird, and I didn't have say in much of that. It was just the narrative that was put onto me. Like, what the right? A lot of us are living with these stories that were thrust onto us in conversations that happened right next to us as if we did not exist, helping to establish that story of who we are and what we are. And so there's like a lot of different there's a lot of different threads here to tie together. To tie the thread together for parents, which actually I believe is probably the easier one at this exact moment to help parents who might be watching this. Include your children in the conversation. If the conversation's about them and their life, as much as you can. They're not this like helpless person that needs their life figured out for them and decided for them. They're actually quite intelligent, quite smart. They're sane, intelligent, right human beings who have like a real vested interest in vested interest in how their life turns out. And they have knowing, and they have knowledge, and they have desire and belief. And we need to cherish that and understand that. And this conversation this weekend like really showed me that Sage and Colby, my two daughters, deserve to be in the conversations. Most of the conversations, maybe not all, but most of the conversations that are about them and their lives. So they realize that they have some control of the narrative. And then also that requires parents to not speak about their children when they're next to them, calling them things difficult or whatever, spelling out words about them. They might not know how to spell it, but the energetics are there. They might not know the words, but the energetics behind it are there. And whatever's causing us to, a lot of the times we talk about our children, or even the child, if we're taking care of children, camp or school or babysitting, whatever it is, wherever the situation that we might be in charge of a child or in charge of watching them, to know that we don't have the permission to talk about them as if they're not humans, because they are humans. And so a lot of that comes from our us getting to deregulate around them making us feel overwhelmed, them causing us to get stressed. It's not a them thing, it's an us thing. We need to know how to regulate. We need to know how to take space. We need to know how to take breaths, and then to not to use the stress that we're feeling as a reason to go talk about the child next to us and to create a narrative for them that they don't get to be involved in. Now, coming back around to us, the child that once was, the child that is, the person who had the adults in the room talking about them, how do we shift this narrative in us? Because that's the tough part. That's the really difficult part. You weren't involved in your story for the most part. You didn't have parents who even thought about it. And so what's the first step? What's the step? Actually, reading this book, The Line Tracker's Guide to Life. I'm going to safari next month to Kenya. I'm so excited. I'm going to use this treat it like a retreat. Like, just have so much fun, but like use it to heal the shit out, whatever I need to be healed out of, and just to be in awe and wonder. This Line Tracker's Guide, he talks about like tracking animals in South Africa, and how and it talks a lot about story and narrative, and the stories that are weaved between following tracks and trails. And he talks about just needing to find the first track, like to start the story, to start the narrative. You need to find the first track, and then when you find that track, you need to find the next first track, because the next track is just the next first track. So where was I with that? As the next first track. So how does that come back to this like thing that we're talking about, the story, the narrative of our life? We need to find the first track about how to take control of our own narrative, our own story of who we want to be, who we believe we should be, to deconstruct the story that we've taken on that we don't want anymore, it doesn't serve us. And so a lot of times it just takes doing some inner work, and like sitting down with yourself in a journal or a pad, and drawing or writing, and like about what do you desire to be? Who do you desire to be? What is the thing that you desire to have? Do you want to be free? Do you want to be just like more like less attached to outcomes of things, less stressed? Do you want to be more just like easygoing? Do you want to be more organized? Do you want to be more creative? Whatever it is. Do you want to, and also like, if you can actually find the summary of the story that you believe is you, that others have of you, that you have of yourself, which mine was a very anxious kid who didn't have a lot of strength and will to push through really difficult moments. Yeah, it fucking stings actually hearing that out loud. So if I can take the narrative of that story and see it, cool. And then what's the narrative of the story of I hope to be? And the narrative of who I want to be, who I want others to see me as, who I want to show up as, is of this loving human who has gone through lots of suffering and pain, and has a life of privilege and joy, who is showing up to share the lessons I've learned through losing my mother, and through having like a really deep feeling body that has manifested as anxiety, and stress, and depression at times, and panic. And how I continue to show up to become like understand myself and become authentically wholly me. That's the narrative I'm going towards every single day. The narrative of like anxious Evan, like big feeling Evan, is right here. It's still here right now. I'm a little in my head. I can feel myself being a little disassociated. I can feel myself thinking, oh, no one's really watching this. No one probably maybe cares what I have to say. Who do you think you are, even talking about these things? Like, that narrative is still there. This like unimportant, unworthy Evan, there every day. Honestly, it will never go away. It'll always be a part of me, and that's okay. That's the medicine. We're not going to just push away this piece of us that served us for so long, our whole childhood, into, I don't know how old you are, into, I have clients in my 60s, then the narrative is still there, and they're just trying to take control of it. And so it served us for so long, and that's okay. Like, we probably have a lot of hate and anger towards it, because a lot of the shit it brought us, the shame, the guilt, the whatever. And so it takes us like first learning to love that little you that was narrated and created without your input. Loving that little you. Ooh. All of it. All of its roles and jiggling and weirdness and insecurity and awkwardness. Yeah, I'm probably talking about myself. But whatever that is for you. Loving it. Not shaming it. Not guilty. Not me telling you to go the way. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your stories. And I release you. Thank you for sharing all you can with me. And I release you to where you want to be. To where you're meant to be in the past. I release you to totally disintegrate. I release you with the burden that you've carried for so long, that you still carry. And I'll continue to release it over and over again while loving you and holding you in my arms. All the things our parents couldn't do for us, or maybe did for us at times, but not fully and wholly that we needed. And then as we learn to love this like version of us that we like no longer need to be, ooh, there can almost be this like feeling of nostalgia. I had like nostalgia for this little me that was just so scared and didn't do things in life and just wanted to hide. And then we can see this version of us that we are opening up to being, that we are opening our heart to being, that we are unmasking ourselves to become this like wholly authentic version of you, whoever that is for you. If you didn't take time before, maybe you want to stop right now. We can stop right now, and if you're recording, stop right now and write down the narrative of who you think, like what you think your past narrative was and what you want your future narrative to be. And it doesn't have to be fully done. It's a work in progress. Just hit pause. Past narrative of me that I didn't really have a say in was, and some of the parts I did have a say in was, and the future person that I am opening myself to be, some of that stuff might follow through, and some of that stuff could follow through. I've always been like loving. Some of it was just in like a people-pleasing way. I still want to be loving, but in like a serving way now. They were shifting a little bit, but there's still love there. But this is who I am opening to being. This is my true nature that I am becoming. And that's how we change a narrative. That's how we change the story. It's the very beginning. It's a lifelong process. It's a lifelong process. And so we look for the first track, the first step into doing that. So my future self that I am aspiring to be is this unencumbered, free, enlightened person. Yeah. I want to be enlightened in the sense that my love radiates out of me to everyone and helps repair and restore love in this world, in myself, in my family, in the world, and that I feel free and that I don't feel so attached to all of my burdens and intense feelings. And that doing so allows me to serve in the way I'm meant to serve. Parents and children and all people as I travel the world. And so the first step for me is knowing that, is having this vision, having this idea. And then the next step for me is like, how do I get there? The next step for me has been meditation for like 15 plus years. I've been meditating and sitting with my thoughts and feelings and breathing and just getting to know myself, my inner self. And I will continue to do so. And for me, it's the first step. And then the step after that for me has been getting to know like my body, to getting to actually feel the feelings in my bodies and to not run away from them, to know that I'm safe feeling deep pain in my gut. I'm safe when I feel panic in my body rise, when I feel grief and anger and shame and I feel uselessness. Like to know that I'm safe in all that, and to also let myself revel in the gratitude and beauty and joy that come up in moments. More fleeting than the other stuff. More fleeting, definitely. I'd say a lot of that anxiety and stress sit with me harder, deeper, longer than the feelings of expansion at this point in my life currently. But that's my next step, to understand how to be with my body, to be with myself as I am. This has just been my process. And then the step after that has been becoming an entrepreneur, or maybe that was the second step, being an entrepreneur and figuring out what drives me and gives me passion. And the next step after that was unattaching my worth from my job, my work, and I'm still deeply ingrained in that, and how to detach my worth from how much money I make and bring it for my family. And the next step after that was making art, and the next step after that was ecstatic dance, and the next step after that, there's so many steps in between that I can talk about. Relational things with my wife, my partner, relational things with my children and my father. And so I've taken a step each way to different companies, to different places, to different things. And so all we're doing right now is looking for that next step, which I'm doing right now. I'm currently fully engaged in what is that next first step for my business. And for me, that's a desire to teach with a teacher I admire and love so dearly, Simone Seol. That's my next step for business. And my next step in my like spiritual life and my healing life is is to fully engage myself in what is my next step in my spiritual life. The other day it come up is just to go deeper, harder, become more intense. Not intense, I mean like more committed to my spiritual practice every day. In the way of opening my heart to love, because I've realized that my goal is really to become enlightened. It wasn't that really until I didn't say it probably until maybe 2 days ago, actually. Yeah, so that's my next step. And there's a next step with my children, and there's a next step with my wife, and so each part of our life has this next step that we're looking for. It's a lot to take in. A lot of gold in there for me personally. I hope you found it useful as well. So I guess to summarize this and pull up, because I'm feeling good about what we've shared, is that there's been a narrative in the story that has been created for us since we were born, since we were little. And it's our turn to take control of that narrative, to understand what it is that we want that narrative to be now for us and in the future, present and the future, and how we open ourselves to that. And also, if you're parents or a caretaker or are involved in children's lives, to let them be involved openly and honestly and fiercely in the narrative that is their story, that is who they are. It starts by not talking about them around them as if they're not there. That starts by allowing them into conversations that you never thought you'd allow them into. And by letting them really have control of their life in a way that probably was not given to you, or is not given to most children. Yeah. Cool. Thanks for listening. I don't know. Probably be back on tomorrow or the next day. And can't wait to talk. Thanks. Bye.